Hello everybody, Larry Young here again with another segment of OLaMan Living Life with Purity. And today I want to try to put a few leftovers together here and see what kind of comes out of it. Now, what I mean by leftovers is thought streams that have been expressed in previous podcasts and how they all are connected and are actually sort of pointing to the facts and the reality, what we're living in today. And the first of these segments is George Washington's vision at Valley Forge. And at that vision there that George Washington talked about, there was a visit by the Blessed Mother to him, and she told him about 3 great perils that would befall this burgeoning nation. And I believe we're in the last or the third of those great perils. And so I think the prophecy was made, and we're living through the eyes of the past to look into the future, so to speak. And another one of those segments I want you to think about is a most recent one where I talk about woke people and how they have to go from being unique to being special. And then in the end, for them to not feel like they're still part of this other group of special people, they need to go supernova and make themselves into a victim. And why do they need to make themselves into a victim and separate themselves out of this special class that they wanted to be a part of? Because they're trying to seek power and esteem amongst the other group of people so that they could be above them in laud and regard from everyone else. They can't stand being part of the pack. They have to be above the pack, because they are special, more special than the other one. So what is going on right now in the world? Well, we've got a lot of ideology exchanges going on right now. We've got a lot of people in this Olympics game right now want to take naturalness and the order of naturalness out of the discussion, and they want to say that certain people with XY chromosomes are women, and they're unfairly competing with their physical advantage over other women and beating their collective asses, I'd have to say. I mean, the one woman was from Italy was really smart to abandon the fight and say, no, enough. I'm not going to sit here and take an ass whooping by a guy, under the guise of an Olympic competition. I'm not going to do that. Praise to that girl, that woman. She knew who the heck she was. And good news for her coaches and parents, because they did a great job. This woman stood up to the tyranny of the idiocy. And I think that she needs to get a number of gold bars, if not medals, for her efforts here. Because I think that she was right there with the young man that stood in front of the tanks in Tiananmen Square years ago. And by his saying no, a lot of things changed. And I don't know whatever happened to that guy, but I hope he lived through it. I don't know what actually happened to him. I should probably look that up. But, the craziness that's going on right now, we shouldn't be so surprised, because these people have told us all along what their plan was. And I've always said, when people show you who they are, you should believe them. Don't give them excuses. Don't let them say things that aren't true and get away with it for the sake of being nice and being compassionate and things like that. Because the devil will lie right to your face. And the devil is lying right to your face every day that we go out of our homes. And we have to make sure that we stay strong in our own knowledge of who we are and what we stand for. So there's a great push around the world right now to eliminate God from the discussion and from relevance in our lives. They're trying to say that God is an abstract thought of only held by poor people. There's one of my dogs there. That's JJ. Did you get it? Did you get it? Okay, good. They want to dismiss God as being something that poor people have and need in their lives, because they're too dumb to know what the rest of us know and what they should know. And this goes to what I talked about with the school systems. They're not really teaching people and our kids how to think, but they're teaching them what to think. And this has all been a plan. It's been put together, and now this formula that they've been working on is now starting to present itself in hard evidence. So what happens when we eliminate God from the relevance in our society and in our lives? Well, two things happen historically to showcase this, and we can point to different, world orders or governments that had done things. But what happens when you remove God from the equation is there becomes a void in the system of the culture and the governance. And so what happens immediately is there's a huge fight for power. Everyone wants power, and they're all looking for power because power is the tool that they need to do what it is that they want to do. And the other thing that happens is a direct march towards personal satisfaction, personal, happiness, personal accumulation of wealth, and things like that, and sexual hedonism. So we'll just call it all hedonism, that there's a big growth in hedonism that goes on because people aren't satisfied with relaxing in the power of the spirit of holiness that is God, and even thinking about that as something to aspire to. Instead, they want to think about their personal pleasures, their gluttony for food, their sexual appetites, and they want now the kids and other people are being taught right now that sex is recreation. It's not procreation. And, this is a real slippery slope because all these children are thinking that sex is nothing more than a massage and it should be taken out of context. All it is a physical relief, much like going to the bathroom or something. It's something we all need to do each day, but they want to have it, but they don't want to accept the personal responsibility of what the act is intended. So they want to say, we're going to go around God's plan and we're going to make our own plan. And so we want sex to be a recreational element. And so, but we want to have a backup because we want sex without the possible complications. So this is why they demand to have birth control and abortion on demand at any point because it's the mother's right. Well, the baby's got a right too. A lot of us think about that. And one of the comedians out there, I think his name is Bill Burr or Bill Barr. I'm not familiar exactly with him, but he said something in one of his comedy sketches that I thought was really profound. He stood up and he says, abortion, he says, they want to say it's a mother's right and all like that, and it's a personal choice and all these different things, that it's my right to do it. And he says, well, he says, I'm going to go ahead with your right, your personal right to choose. He says, but I also think it's killing. And that stunned the audience a bit because they thought he was going to come out as a flaming, pro-choice activist. He said, yeah, I support your right to choose, but I also support, the fact that you're killing a baby. He says it's no different than if I was baking a birthday cake and I whipped up the batter and all like that, and I put it in the pan and I put it in the oven. I set the timer, and 45 minutes or so, the cake is going to be baked. We'll take it out and I'll frost it up and, we'll have a full-on birthday cake. But he says, if some other asshole comes along and takes that cake out of my oven and throws it across the floor and ruins it, I said, hey, what the hell are you doing? You just ruined my birthday cake. He says, oh, that wasn't a cake yet. That was just a bunch of batter. He says, well, if you'd have given it 45 minutes, I'd have had my birthday cake. He says, you son of a bitch, get out of here. But the left, the woke the people who are fragile and weak in these arguments, they won't accept that as a parallel type of thought process. They just block it at that point. Everything else qualifies as a thought process, but when it comes to the baby making and the gestation and the life formation, they want to turn that all out. This is part of the hedonistic plan and the control for power. So the power goes up because they think they're winning these arguments, and they're taking hold by way of their laws and jurisdictions and their protests and these crazy, projections that they're putting out there, because they always want to put their faults and their weaknesses onto the opposition's argument. And you see this all the time in political debates. The whole weird thing. The word weird came out this last week, and now everything on the right is weird. And it's just callous, and it's a planned. It's a Saul Alinsky tactic. If you don't know who Saul Alinsky is, I'll talk about that. But he's the guy that said, just keep repeating the lie until society sees it as a truth. So this is what they do. They keep repeating the lie until enough people start saying, well, that's what I heard. That's got to be the truth. And it's simple thought. They really don't want to do the work and look into the truth about things, because they like having their hedonistic stuff. They don't want to work for it. They just want all the pleasures. So this is what happens when you take God out of the equation. What ultimately happens is the power base gets found out as being frauds, and it falls. And then the hedonistic side, it starts to cause problems within society that can't be supported by any more people coming into it. They can't recruit more to keep up this, strange behaviors that they have taken as being normal and recreational. Eventually, it falls too. And then you end up having this completely messed up cultural society with no regard for anything. And then that creates this total anarchy, to where it's every man and woman for themselves, and you get a real dystopian type of presence going on. So one of the candidates, Kamala Harris, had said just last year, and I was astounded by it when she said it. She was talking about climate change, and I think she just come from a climate conference in Europe, where they always do these things in Europe. Well, they had this climate conference, and she came back and she was talking about carbon emissions and reductions here, going to EV vehicles and things like that. And then she let slip out, and we must reduce our population. She said it. We must reduce our population. Well, the media went bonkers. They went bonkers, so bonkers that they couldn't remember her saying it. They all of a sudden forgot that she said that. Well, what she did was she let the cat out of the bag. And there was a downflow from this reducing the population that came out of that conference that I was able to find out too. So one of the things they want to promote is asexual behavior that doesn't procreate. So what they want to do is they want to foster homosexual or non-sexual relationships on a wider basis, because they feel just the homosexual population, if they're not procreating, then there's fewer bodies to deal with going into the future. So they think that just by promoting homosexuality throughout the world in greater numbers and having this LGBTQ non-productive group of people, non-procreative group of people, that we will have a natural 3 to 5% reduction in the world's population. So this is one of their plans. The other plan is for transgenderization and neuterization, what they call puberty blockers. Puberty blockers is just a made-up name that basically is chemical sterilization. And they don't want to go into that kind of rhetoric, so they just call it a puberty blocker. We're going to keep this young boy from becoming a man so that he can grow into being the young woman that he really feels that he is, although he's only 8 years old. These types of projects and thought processes are going through a lot of the people on the woke side of the agenda. Now, I think that they truly think that they're doing good, but they just don't know. They've got this Stockholm syndrome going on. They've been brainwashed, and we have to rinse these things out a little bit more and straighten them out and get out the iron. A lot of these wrinkles are getting just too damn kinky. So we have to fix this stuff. We have to watch for it. We have to be aware. Don't let it go by. Stand up, say no. Use your feather strokes. Say no. Walk away. Don't endorse it. Say, honey, I know you're feeling some strange emotions right now, but, just give it time and grow into it. And let's occupy your thoughts with some other more productive things. Let's go find you a hobby. Let's go do something rather than sitting around and ruminating and stuff. Let's go get a hobby. Let's go make something. Because when you're involved typically in the act of creation and fabrication, your mind is put to positive pursuits, and you don't have time for these other, non-human thoughts that grow and lift our culture. These are thoughts of the devil, and these are thoughts of the evil side that wants to take more power and promote more hedonism. And if we don't stop these two pillars climbing up, the whole thing collapses, and we are reduced to nothing but rubble. And then the real strengths of our character and our abilities will stand out, because those are the people that will survive. Now, think about these things. Go back and watch some of these previous podcasts, especially the segments there on the Valley Forge elements and with the Angel of America discussion, and even go back to the beginning when I talked about why this country and how this country was founded and explored was with the Immaculate Conception always being taken along. Even from the initial explorers, they brought with them the traditions of the Immaculate Conception for Our Lady to lead the way into the New World, bringing her Son with her so that this new world, with all its advantages, would be able to be built in the image of godly people and not in the image of recreational people. So a lot to think about. I'm going to be going back into this more with my buddy Alex Fiato has been working on some things, and we're going to sit down and I'm going to interview him a little bit about his work he's been doing on the John Paul XVI last will and testament, and some of the things that he said in there about our current administration here with Francis Bergoglio. And he's going to have some questions for me as well that I think folks will find pretty interesting on some of the history here of how Our Lady of America came to be and is in the situation it is today. So I'm excited about some of the content we have coming up. I'm concerned about what's going on in the world right now, but I truly believe that right now you've got this fanatical blast going on from the woke people in the country, especially with this election going on and the candidates finally being described and put out in front of everybody. I think what they're finding out right now is this great enthusiasm that everyone's having for this new ticket on the Democratic side. I think it's more of a sigh of relief from these people that they have something to cheer for, because they were all doom and gloom up until about a week or so ago, because they were afraid that they were going to have to deal with Joe Biden again, and they knew at that point that they were in trouble, but they're still not addressing the fact that they and everybody else has been lied to since 2016. He didn't run in 2016, and he's not running in 2024 again finally, but they ran him in 2020, and they knew what they were dealing with at that time, and we know what we're dealing with now. And this Kamala Harris they got running right now, she is dangerous. She is dangerous. Hedonistic power. She's climbing both those pillars as fast as she can. And I don't really believe she's created anything in her career. I think she's taken a lot of credit for other people's work. I think she's flip-flopped on a lot of her positions. Politicians do that. Politicians will lie. Sometimes our priests and bishops will lie, for a convenient truth. I'll be going into that a segment here coming up. I'm putting together, when bishops lie, and they lied about me, and it caused me a lot of problems in my life, but I'm trying to move on. But the truth is the truth, and folks need to know the truth. So we will be delivering the truth on these things. I love my faith. I'm concerned about my church and the administration, just like I am with my government. But I think they're tied together quite a bit. We'll be exploring some of these things. So in the meantime, I love you, and I'll be back.